We spend an enormous amount of our daily energy trying to lock our lives into a fixed state. We try to hold our youth, hold our relationships, and our bank accounts in place, believing that if we can just stop things from changing, we will finally be safe. But we live in a reality governed by constant motion. When we demand that our lives remain static, we are fighting a battle we cannot win. The friction between our desire for permanence and the reality of change is the actual source of our daily distress. You see this friction in the knot in your stomach over an unread message, or the quiet dread of a shifting job market. It is a heavy, persistent weight that comes from trying to anchor ourselves to moving ground. We so often view the changing world as the enemy, but the world is simply following its own nature. It is our expectation of stillness that keeps us trapped in a defensive, anxious state. When anxiety strikes, it feels like an indivisible, overwhelming force. However, Buddhist philosophy suggests that fear is actually a compound, a mixture of specific emotional factors that can be isolated. To understand fear, find its root. It usually grows from 3 places: greed, fear of losing what we want; anger, fear of future pain; or delusion, dread of the unknown. To dismantle anxiety, identify which specific root drives your reaction. Breaking fear down into its components changes your relationship to it. You shift from being a victim of your biology to an investigator of your own mind. This analytical approach is detailed in the Anuddhamma Sutta, an ancient text that provides a systematic framework for deconstructing human experience. The text describes 5 aggregates that make up our reality: physical form, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental fabrications, and our consciousness. The Buddha's central observation was that every single one of these building blocks is inconstant. They're in a state of continuous flux. Crucially, the change itself is not what causes suffering. The suffering is generated by our attempt to cling to these temporary blocks as if they were permanent. As long as we pin our hopes for happiness on things beyond our control, like the economy or the approval of others, we create the conditions for our own anxiety. This leads to a useful paradox. The very impermanence we try to avoid is actually the key to our liberation. If every experience is subject to the law of inconstancy, then the feeling of fear itself must also pass. The tight chest and racing mind are temporary events that arise, peak, and decay. When you zoom out, you see anxiety as just a small ripple on a long timeline. Observing this passing event stops you from feeding the spike. Impermanence is not a threat to our safety. It is the guarantee that our current pain and fear have an expiration date. Logic often fails us in the heat of the moment, when a sudden flash of fear overwhelms the body. A momentary mental flash of fear dumps hormones into the bloodstream. Even after the initial thought is gone, your heart continues to race and your stomach churns as those chemicals wash through your system. Thanissaro Bhikkhu suggests a tactical separation here. You must distinguish the lingering physical symptoms in the body from your actual mental state. By breathing through the tension and letting the chemistry dissipate, you prevent the body's leftover symptoms from convincing the brain that an emergency is still happening. When you allow the physical symptoms to wash out on their own time, you strip the fear of its power to hijack your decisions. The ultimate response to an unpredictable world is to shift our dependency. We move our focus from an outside environment we cannot control to an internal state that we can. By grounding the mind on a stable anchor like the breath, we stop it from jumping nervously between future threats. This allows the mind to soften and observe itself clearly. In this stillness, you can begin the work of taking apart those 5 building blocks: form, feeling, and thought. By seeing that even your sense of self is a collection of changing parts, you stop identifying with the things that age and decay. This practice leads toward a position of strength, where your happiness no longer depends on things that can be taken away. By embracing impermanence, we find a stability that the world's changes can no longer touch. Take a moment to reflect on your own anchors today, and subscribe as we continue to explore the mechanics of the mind.